So the Europeans, especially the Portuguese, are going to start moving into the Atlantic and then eventually into the Indian Ocean as well. Portugal is going to start. They went from Genoa, Italy, with the goal to reach India. So the Vidali brothers are moving, and they are getting funded by the Portuguese during the 14th century. The Spanish mariners and the Portuguese, they're flying on Canary Islands, which are the eastern Atlantic as well. And then Portugal is going to start moving out in Africa, and they're actually going to conquer part of modern day Morocco and then also part of modern day Ghana. And what that just keeps enticing them. They are getting more stuff. In this case, it's horses, it's leather, it's textiles, it's metalware, and they're trading that for gold and slaves, basically. And also they're going to start to go on their first major adventure. And this is led by Bartholomew Diaz. Bartholomew Diaz, this is here. He's the purple, and he's going to go get this far, and he actually isn't going to make it all the way there, mainly due to the fact of storms, and he decides he's going to turn back. But he is the first European to sail around what is known as the Cape of Good Hope, around the Cape of Good Hope. But he also, if you'd had knowledge of the ocean currents a little bit better, like Da Gama is going to have, it'll be a lot easier for him. So Diaz is the first Portuguese man to sail around the coast. But then Da Gama is going to finish it off in 1498. He had 4 armed merchant ships. He goes 3 months without seeing land. He got, as you can see here, he got really close to Brazil, and that's just because of how the ocean currents work. This was actually a significantly safer journey. Why does he need all those armed merchant ships? Well, because the Swahili city-states over here, he will have significant interaction with. Less than half his crew is going to end up making it back to Portugal, but what he brought back was really, 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 really profitable. Pepper, cinnamon, and Portugal has built a trading post in Calcutta by the 1500s, and the English and the Dutch are going to follow suit. Well, there's this guy from, he's an Italian guy who's trying to figure out, can I sail west to India? And his name is Christopher Columbus, and he's trying to get funding, and he gets rejected by the English and the French and actually the Portuguese. And Spain ends up giving him some dollars to say, all right, figure it out. He did some calculations that he thought that Japan was 2,500 nautical miles, basically 2,500 miles, west of the Canary Islands. In reality, it's 10,000. Columbus, like I said, he'd gone around trying to get everything, but in the end, it's Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain who sponsors it. And on October 12th, 1492, he makes landfall in basically what is the Bahamas, and he meets the Taino people. And he sails around the Caribbean looking for gold, but in the end, he doesn't really do a whole lot. He leaves a bunch of people there to hey, we'll come back and have a colony together. But on his second voyage back to the Western Hemisphere, or what he thinks is the Western, or what he will find out to be the Western Hemisphere, all of them have died, but he is intrigued by all the gold he sees the Taino people. And what you see is that it's not a very good relationship, because what's going to happen is Columbus and them do not get along with each other at all. Columbus ends up in jail for a little bit of time. He can sail back, and it just doesn't really work very well. The Columbus in the New World was not a very nice person at all. Raping and pillaging for sure. Conflict is breaking out between Columbus's crews and the Taino people. And one other thing of note here that has been noted in my class before is that Columbus never made it to the mainland, what we now know today as the United States. He was all in the Caribbean the entire time. He was in Cuba, the Bahamas, kind of all around in here, but never actually made it to the United States. Now, to the Pacific and how the Mediterranean get there. The Europeans have no idea how big the Pacific Ocean is. Ferdinand Magellan tries to get to Asia again by going west, and he goes south, as you can see here. He goes south around, now it is the Strait of Magellan, first European even into the Pacific Ocean. And it's an incredibly difficult journey. It takes him about 3 months to get from South America and across the Pacific Ocean to what we now know as Guam. And he gets to Guam with worm-ridden biscuits, leather had softened, bad water. A lot of the crew were eating rats for their meals. People are losing teeth because of just how sick they were and just rotting of the gums. I mean, it's not good. 29 members of Magellan's crew had died by this point. But in Guam, they get a bunch of fresh rations, and so they have a chance. Then they get to the Philippines, and Magellan gets himself involved in basically a civil war, and it doesn't end very well for him as he dies. However, his crew is able to keep going. And one ship full of cloves and 18 sailors make it back to Portugal by 1522. You can see the route that they took here. Boop, 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 boop. So that was our first time anybody had sailed around the world. It was not Magellan, Ferdinand Magellan. It was Magellan's crew had sailed around the world for the first time. The other person we need to be aware of here is Sir Francis Drake. He is scouting the west coast of the Americas in the 1500s, and basically some see him as a pirate, and some see him as a explorer. And so he basically is going to be raiding Spanish ships here. And I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. This was another one for Magellan. Sir Francis Drake is going to be going up and down these coasts, and Drake is basically, the Spanish do not like him very much, but the English like him because he's going to take away from basically any sort of resemblance of Spanish rule in the area. Okay, so Francis Drake does that. James Cook is another European of note here. He was on this slide that I wanted to get to. James Cook is important because James Cook is big time in basically the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, whether it's New Zealand, East Australia, New Caledonia, Hawaii, even gets into the Arctic and spends times in the tropic. Basically, James Cook's explorations will lead us to a full-fledged map of the world. Not very accurate at this point, but a full-fledged map of the world. Make sure you know some of the explorers here, where they're from, where they went to, and their importance.